I'm loving the pop off.
What's good? Welcome back to the Pop-Off Podcast, a conversation show about beef and basketball. My name is Ralph Compiano. I'm your host. I am joined by two of my favorite people in the world, Jack Turner, Skyler Riesberg, aka the Popcorn Boys. And boys, the rap civil war is officially underway. We had a response from, I'm not sure if he's the North or the South. I suppose he might be the North. But Drake responded to Kendrick Lamar's diss on the song Like That over the weekend. He leaked it through the Twitch streamer. I think he streams on Twitch. I don't even know. I don't watch any of those guys on them. I just see them when they pop up on my TikTok or Instagram feed. But he leaked it through academics, essentially. Berg, you've had a chance to listen to it a few times. We're going to play it for the listeners so they can listen back to it. But before we do that, just give me your initial thoughts on the response from Drake.
Well, I'm surprised there was a response at all, just because, just thinking about back through rap beefs, at this point in time, just where my head's at, the beefs with like Meek Mill and other rappers with Drake just don't really seem real. They don't seem like that big of a deal at the end of the day. So when you got something like this going on, you always wonder if somebody's going to respond, I feel like, especially with an artist as big as Drake, who definitely could just not respond. Sure, people would be a little upset, I would think, but at the end of the day, it's not going to plummet his career. Like he can sleep peacefully and keep making more money without ever having to respond to this. And I don't think it affects his legacy too much at the end of the day, because I'm sure he could handle it his own way. If we're picking North and South, Drake's definitely in the North or the South. Kendrick's definitely in the North. He's definitely bringing home those values for the North people. Drake's the big Southern plantation owner. Just watched Django the other day, so it's very fitting. He's running Candyland down there. But what Rick I think Ross about
called
this
him
song,
a white boy the other day on his diss, and I don't know if we have to talk about the Rose diss too much, but he accused him of getting a nose job, and he called him a white boy. So I guess that plays into this, because Kendrick's definitely not white in any part of his soul.
Dude, I wonder how many people are actually going to listen to this Rick Ross song instead of just like, I heard he dropped a diss.
Yeah, right.
That's me.
Yeah. I listened to a song called Champagne Poetry, but was that the diss?
Yeah, it's called like Champagne Problems or something like that, and it was pretty weak. So, Turner, you haven't listened to it yet. So, just as like an outside observer, you've been kind of ignoring this beef. Some people think it's annoying. Some people think it's played out. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I've been a little disengaged. Like you said, he released it through DJ Academics or something.
Yeah.
Is that how from who would look like I got left off Bad and Bougie fame?
Yeah,
that's wild. DJ Academics is 41 years old, 42 years old, just getting direct. Dude, he's in his 40s. He's just getting direct.
All these people. Future's 4 years old. Drake's coming up on 40. Kendrick's older. J. Cole's older. So it's just like, I was thinking about this. I was like, okay, when people like enter the workforce after college, if they're accountants, they like automatically become 35. But if like you're a rapper and you're 40, you still think you're 25.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I don't think it's 10 years too late. It's still interesting. It's still fun to have, the biggest rappers out there, some of the biggest artists in the world, like recognize each other, whether that's in a friendly way or in more, I don't know, enemy or like Drake and Future seem more like frenemies to me. Like they're not totally against each other. Then I don't know like where Kendrick gets involved in all this. So at the core of it, Ralph, what's the beef kind of? What is the core of the beef? Like, what is the base? What are all these rappers standing on?
That's what I've been curious about, because, all right, so Berg mentioned the previous beefs that Drake has had. He had one with Meek Mill, and then he had one with Pusha T and Kanye at the same time, right? And I think both of those rappers, as much as you respect them as artists, they're still like a tier below Drake. Like Pusha T is like
Kanye West as an artist is a tier.
Not Kanye, no, because he didn't ever actually drop a diss track. So like that's why I think this one's interesting, because Drake and Kendrick are like on the same level, I think, as far as people's perceptions of them in the game. The idea of this big three or Fantastic Four, whatever the fuck it is. If there's a starting five in rap, they're the two franchise players for it, right? They're LeBron and Anthony Davis, however you want to look at them. But the actual core of it, it's kind of confusing, because I think it's just like animosity that's been pent up for a while. There's been a lot of sneak disses in the past. And, it goes back to like, nobody has a concrete answer to that question. it's like a Metro tweet here and there where he's like,
Kendrick
the award shows is all about politicking because they gave awards to her loss instead of heroes and villains. And it's like, is that really the root of this? Because that seems like so fraud. And then the Kendrick thing, it's like, maybe it goes back to the Baby Keem issues. I have no idea. Maybe it's the stealing of the flow on Sticky that we talked about on the Best of 2023 song draft. I just don't know. Like, it's not like they ran into each other at a club and somebody threw a gunshot at the other one like a Tupac and Biggie situation.
It seems kind of like Kendrick and Drake are just such opposite people that they probably just don't like each other just based off normal, real life. I don't really want to hang out with that dude. Don't really respect him.
And I think there's just resentment between the two of them because Drake said it on 4 p.m. in Calabasas, which is is probably my favorite time and location song, where he said the label was telling him to take an R&B person on the road, an R&B artist on the road, and he said no, and he drew for Kendrick and Rocky, so he brought them on like a world tour with him. And I think Kendrick's like, I didn't need you to bring me on a world tour to become Kendrick Lamar. I was already Kendrick Lamar. But Drake in his head is like, I brought this little dude on tour with me, and then he blew up after that coincidentally. So there's just kind of resentment there. But then you have the first-person shooter track, and for some reason, Kendrick interpreted that as a diss. I don't really see that. And Drake isn't even the one that said it. J. Cole is the one that said it. And then there's the whole J. Cole side of this thing where he anointed himself with 7-minute drill, and then he immediately apologized like 48 hours later. The weakest shit I've ever seen.
J. Cole hated for a while.
That
is the most J. Cole thing I've ever seen of all time. And this is what I've been saying for years.
He just sat down and said, let's all hold hands and kumbaya. Like, hey, that project I put out from start to almost finish is exactly what I wanted. But that last song, man, that's not me. That didn't preach about that love and positivity and kumbaya. We should be uplifting each other. You're like,
what?
Where did this come from, dude? Why? You can't immediately take this stance. It's just like if I was looking for the Rick Ross diss track like 5 minutes before this just to see, like it's still up there, right? So I can listen to it. And I was thinking, just because I didn't know what it was called, like, what if he just took it down? Like, what if we live in this day and age of people just immediately like, I don't really like that, so I'm just going to take it down. Such a pussy move.
J. Cole did take it off Spotify. It's no longer on there.
Oh, he did?
And he took it off Spotify, and he titled the album Might Delete Later. You didn't might delete it. You actually deleted it later. Like, that is so fraud. And
wait, he deleted the whole album?
No, he has the album still, but the last track, 7-minute drill, is removed from it. All right. But I think this is a good time to, all right, we'll listen to the Drake diss. We'll come back. We'll discuss it. All the lyrics pulled up. Because I don't think, like you, Turner, like a lot of people are like, it's not on Spotify. It's only on YouTube and Twitter right now. So we'll listen to it and we'll come back. So here it is.
Nobody #1 fan. Your first #1, I had to put it in your hand. You pussies can't get booked outside America for Nan. I'm out in Tokyo because I'm big in Japan. I'm the hit maker y'all depend on. Backstage in my city, it was friend zone. You won't never take no chain off of us. How the fuck you big stepping with a size 7 man zone? This the part with the bite, nigga, what's up? I know my picture on the wall when y'all cook up. Extortion, baby, whole career, you been shook up. Cause Top told you drop it, give me 50 like some push-ups. Hood, your last one brick, you really not on shit. They make excuses for you cause they hate to see me lit. Pull your contract cause we gotta see the split. The way you doing splits, bitch, your pants might rip. You better do that motherfucking show inside the bitty. Maroon 5 need a verse, you better make it witty. Then we need a verse for the Swifties. Top say drop, you better drop and give them 50. Pip squeak, pipe down, you ain't in no big 3. Scissor got you wiped down, Travis got you wiped down, Savage got you wiped down. Like your label, boy, you in the scope right now. And you gon' feel the aftermath of what I write down. I'm at the top of the mountain, so you tight now. Just to have this talk with your ass, I had to hike down. Big difference between Mike then and Mike now. What the fuck is this, a 20v1, nigga? What's a prince to a king, he a son, nigga? Get more love in the city that you from, nigga. Metro, shut your whole ass up and make some drums, nigga. Yeah, I'm the 6th guy, I'm the front runner. Y'all nigga manager was Charles' little blunt runner. Claim the 6 and you boys ain't even come from it. And when you boys got rich, you had to run from it. Cash flowing, able bread out here tricking. Shit we do for bitches, he doing for niggas. Jets, whips, chains, wicked, wicked, wicked. Spinning like you tryna fuck, boy, you trippin', Drizzy Chippendale, probably got your bitch Chanel. I just got them done, boy, don't make me at the Chippendale. Rolling loud stage, I was turned, that was slick as hell. Shit'll probably change if it BM start to kiss and tell. Hugs and kisses, man, don't tell me about no switches. I be rocking every fucking chain I own next visit, ayy. I be with some bodyguards like Whitney. Top say, drop your little midget ass, better fucking, ayy. Better drop and give me 50, ayy. Drop and give me 50, drop and give me 50, ayy. Niggas really got me out here talking like I'm 50. Niggas really got me out here rapping what I'm living. I might take it latest, girl, and cuff her like I'm Ricky. Can't believe he jumping in, this nigga turning 50. Every song that made it on the chart he got from Drizzy. Spend that little check, you gotta stay up out my business. Nigga, shout out to the hooper that be busting out the gritty. We know why you mad, nigga, I ain't even tripping. All that little heartbroken Twitter shit for bitches. This for all the top dogs, drop and give me 50, drop. In that fucking song, y'all got to not start the beef with us. This shit been brewing in a pot, now I'm heating up. I don't care what Cole think, that dot shit was weak as fuck. Champagne tripping, he is not fucking easing up. Nigga calling top to see if top want a piece of the top, want a piece of the top, want a piece of the. Nah, pussy, now you on your own when you speaking up. You done roll deep to this, is not fucking deep enough. Begging Casa not, boy, you not fucking beating us. Numbers wise, I'm out of here, you not fucking creeping up. Money wise, I'm out of here, you not fucking sneaking up. Cornball, your show money, merch money, feed us. I'ma let you niggas work it out because I seen enough. This ain't even everything I know, don't wait the demon up. This ain't even everything I know, don't wait the demon up. Drop and give me 50, all you fuck niggas teaming up.
What top five you smoking on, Kendrick?
Yeah, drop a 50 bag for the mob in a spot. Drop a 50 bag, 29 for the thought. I was really trying to keep it PG.
Say what you want about Drake as an artist, a rapper, entertainer, personality, but he is a funny guy, and he always has been a funny guy, whether it's in some of the interviews he's done, or I saw the texts he had, with whether that was with his mom or not, saying that Rick Ross has been performing at prom for money. It's bad, Mom. Don't worry. He's a funny guy, and there are some funny lines in that song, like, calling a dude a midget is just always going to be funny.
It's hilarious.
Like a few times during the song, just references his size. Like,
you know what's funny
right
too? Where like, yeah, people are like, some shoe dealer came out and he was like, I've dealt shoes to Kendrick Lamar on several occasions, and he wears a men's 8.5, and it's like Drake's calling out that he wears a size 7 men's or whatever. But I mean, yeah, we can address it top to bottom. We can break it down however you want to. But really, I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was, I texted it to you guys, was he said, what the fuck is this, a 20v1? What's a prince to a king? He's a son. So that's going back to this idea. He's seen the memes, right? Like, Drake is a very online person. He's seen that picture of like, it's Civil War from the Marvel movies, and you have Travis and 21 Savage in the middle, but then you have like Kendrick, Kanye, Future all on one side, and then the other side it's like Drake and like Lil Yachty, I guess. And, you know, the two guys in the middle don't really know what side to pick, but he's like, why is everybody coming at me right now? Like, do they think I'm vulnerable? What is it? Because like you said, Turner, I don't know what the concrete root of this beef is. I don't know if there is one, but I mean, now it's just going to go up from here. I think like this is a response that's going to generate something from Kendrick. I can't see Future ever battle rapping. That's just not Future's style. It's just not who he is. I think that he's done. But the side shot at Metro, he doesn't even like address him for an entire like 2 verses. He just gives him one line. He's like, shut the fuck up and make some drums. I thought that was hysterical. I was like, that's just so good. Like, what's Metro even doing?
And it makes me question Metro's character behind the scenes, because in all interviews and like everything else you know about him, hear me out. Metro's this like, he's just like J. Cole. Yeah. Maybe a little less corny, maybe not, because he's not as much in the media, so we can't tell for sure. But he seems to be this kumbaya, peace and love, never has a bad thing to say about anybody. And sure, he made the beat, but it's not like he wrote the lyrics for the diss track. But then it's just weird to see him and hear him being so involved in this, just from his persona that I feel like he gives off to the internet. So it makes me wonder, you know, are you different behind closed door kind of thing?
I mean, I've never watched a Metro Boomin interview. Never gone out of my way to watch that. Maybe I should. Maybe I should get a better intel on his personality. But
prepare
I did
for
watch.
the song draft.
I was going. Yeah, we are doing a Metro Boomin song draft next week, so that should be fun. But I did watch a performance of him performing like that live in Las Vegas when they dropped the album. So it was a couple days after they dropped the album, and he's playing it, and he's like, barking on it and shit, and like rapping along the Future, and like bringing the song down, and like talking shit about Drake during it. And then there's that part on Like That where it's just instrumental for a little bit, and it goes even higher pace and more frantic. He's like, they said this was my diss verse, and then he just plays it, and everybody's just like hyped up. And so he's participating in the feud, but like there really isn't a lot he can do other than he doesn't rap. Like he can't have like a clever bar at Drake. And to your point, Turner, like that's what I guess rap beef like really falls down. It's who has the funniest shit to say about the other one, who can give the most dirt. Like I didn't know Kendrick Lamar had to give 50% of his proceeds on all of his music to Top Dog. And Berg, you talked about spitting Top Dog a few weeks ago and how he's just maybe like the worst manager in rap. Turns out financially he's doing pretty well because he's getting 50% of the splits on everything that TDE has dropped. And Drake's like, I own my own record label, or I have my own independent thing with OVO. Like I don't have to give, Chubbs 50%. All of that goes straight to me. So is that like a good foundation of a diss record? I'm not sure. I think Drake thinks it's a big deal. Maybe other artists think it's a big deal, but I wasn't like, oh, that's crazy. Wow. But he did say the thing about, all right, so there's speculation about one specific bar on it. I can't remember what it is exactly, but it's along the lines of, I be with some bodyguards like Whitney. Whitney is the name of Kendrick Lamar's fiance, wife, baby mother, whatever it might be. And she might be sleeping with his bodyguards. And so there's been a lot of things about infidelity on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, not just on Kendrick's side, but on her side as well. And Drake is taking stabs at it. And that's kind of like in reference to what Pusha T did with Drake too, like the Sophie Knows Better thing and all of that.
Sometimes this shit just makes me sad though. Like these are all like a lot of my favorite artists. As I mentioned, they're 40. Like, it's maybe a little tease for later if we talk about the Masters. But Scottie gave, Chloe said, like my legacy is basically cemented in who I am already. And like for all these guys, like it kind of is for me too. Like they're my favorite records of them are all behind them. Most likely, you never know. But so it's just kind of sad in some ways to see it just kind of get dragged. Because I don't think it's overall going to change my opinion of any of these guys.
How much more would you have cared about this if it was even 5 years ago, pre-pandemic, 2019, this happens? Is this like the biggest thing going on in pop culture?
Like,
because I think it still seems pretty big, but like you said, they're all, it's 2024, and I've been listening to Drake now for 15 years and Kendrick for 12 years and Future for 10 years. Right.
When Control came out, I feel like I was just nerded out about this stuff a lot more too than I probably do now. But maybe 5 to 7 years ago, it's just weird because like Future and Drake, I don't see as adversaries. Kendrick and Drake kind of operate on like completely different planes, but I found like the Kanye Drake beef a lot more interesting for whatever reason. And then they had, the Larry Hoover concert that like supposedly squashed the beef. Like that was like, I found that stuff fun. Maybe because Kanye is just such a manic personality that you just aren't sure what you're going to get and where he's coming from. But I guess that's my take there.
I honestly forgot about the Kanye and Drake beef for a while, just because I feel like if you don't respond to it, kind of what I was saying earlier, you just kind of forget about it. Like there's no response. There's all this tension, but it never really culminated in anything. We know Kanye, he's probably not going to respond back unless he's on Twitter or, maybe he'll pull him aside in a one-on-one in person and have some weird deep talk with him. That's super uncomfortable and involves a lot of hand holding, but
he did post a really weird Instagram where he like deleted it like 13 hours later where he's like, that was weird. But he essentially said, fuck every single one of you.
Ralph, you spent a lot more time with the youth than us as a basketball coach. Are they like locked into this? Do they care at all? Like, what are their thoughts?
They don't care. They don't care at all. So I'll tell you who cares. All right. So I was at a tournament this weekend. You guys know our buddy, DJ Brown. You're younger than us at Dowling. He's a ref of
yeah.
And so, he's reffing a bunch of games. He's got like a 12-hour shift of reffing essentially, and I'm coaching all day. And this drops while I'm coaching. And so I go out to my car and I listen to it. And one of my players was like into it. The rest of them couldn't have cared less. But I asked DJ, I was like, did you hear it yet? He was like, what? I'm like, Drake responded. And he's like, did he really? So he cares. Right. And then I go to Annie's that night, a little bit more of a ratchet bar. I go downtown and I hear people talking about it and stuff like that. So they care. But like, the people in corporate America could less of a fuck about it, even if we did listen to rap like it was our job when we were in high school. But there are people that care about it for sure. Like Twitter cared about it. Like that was all that I found on my timeline the last 3 days, essentially. I did want to highlight one more bar that I thought was hilarious because you said that Drake and Kendrick operate on different playing fields, and I totally agree for the most part. But I don't think that Drake sees it that way because there's a line here where he said, there's this idea that, you know, Kendrick is who J. Cole thinks he is, like the intellectual rapper, and that's totally true. He made To Pimp a Butterfly, which is, you know, a perfect album about like the Black experience. But there's a line here where he says, Maroon 5 needs a verse. You better make it witty. Yeah. Then we need a verse for the Swifties. Drake has not collaborated with either of those artists. Kendrick Lamar and Future have both collaborated with those artists. So I think he's trying to say, you know, there's this preconceived notion that I'm the mainstream sellout because I make hits, but I make them on my own accord. And Kendrick has needed to make hits. And when he does, he goes to Adam Levine and Taylor Swift. And so I did like that dig right there.
Yeah, that was a great dig. I liked that one. That one raised my eyebrows. And that one probably gets at Kendrick too. Because, you know, he like looks back at those records and he's like, that didn't necessarily push me to the mainstream or lead to more success. It's just kind of, you know, something I did on the label's behalf.
Yeah, kind of a financial little money grab. But I don't know, looking at both their careers, it kind of seems like Drake, like we're talking about Drake being this commercially successful person. And it's true, you know, whenever he gets a feature, like Future didn't go top 100 on the Billboard until he got on Way Too Sexy. That blows my mind. But Kendrick kind of struggled up a lot more coming up. Dude, I'm pretty sure it is. Look it up.
Man exists. A bunch of other songs.
Yeah, Mask Off went number one.
And then I think it was first feature.
Yeah.
Which still, I mean,
to a certain degree, like most of the songs, so like Rick Ross, for example, he jumps in on this and Drake says to him explicitly, like, you've literally never had a top 10 hit without me on it. And that's true, right? I don't think Future's had number one other than Mask Off.
That song did go number one too. Maybe Thug was on Way Too Sexy. That was, I'm sure, his first number one. And then, you know, Drake had the dig back at Kendrick that was that not his first number one song?
What, Fucking Problems?
Did that go number one too? I have to look at Billboard.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyways,
I mean, Fucking Problems.
I'm talking about like that.
Oh, like that? Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good question.
Like that.
But I mean, the point definitely does stand. Like when we do the song drafts, when we're talking about accolades and stuff like that, like the only person or people that have been in conversation with Drake have been Rihanna and Taylor Swift. When we go through the Billboard thing, like we did Kendrick, and we didn't spend a lot of time talking about his Billboard achievements because that's different. Like you want a Pulitzer Prize, Drake's definitely never going to win one of those. So if you want to hold that against him, you can. But like he won that for Damn.
Flex that. He's got to flex that more.
He should.
Humble went number one for 1 week. Bad Blood, you know, after mentioned Taylor Swift song went number one for 1 week, but Like That has been number one now for 3 straight weeks. So it's by far his biggest hit already.
Wow. That's interesting. You would think that, like,
you know, we'll see if it has the legs of some of these other hits. Some of these other ones have turned into classics, you know, that have replay value and will be played for a long, long time. But yeah, definitely the biggest pop any of his songs ever had.
I think, yeah, in Kent, we're kind of saying it without saying it right now. Drake is definitely the more commercially successful. He's got this, he's got that. But if we have to argue who's more culturally successful, hands down Kendrick Lamar, right? Like, there's no argument that Drake's
totally
doing
disagree.
anything for the culture.
I think from like maybe, oh no, definitely for the, like, all right, so like, let's say you go to just any random hood in America. I think the number one artist that's being played right now is like, well, it used to be like Lil Baby, but I think it's like one of these rappers like Gunna, Young Thug, Future. Like Metro talks about it on the album where he has those cut-ins from, I think it's Master P or whatever. He's like, we don't play that Drake shit in the hood. They do play that Drake shit in the hood, like for sure. But I don't think they're listening to Kendrick in the hood like that. Like, I mean, he says it on this song. He's like, I get more love in Compton than you do. And that might be true because Drake's like globally. But to your point, Riesberg, I think what you're trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's more maybe like, all right, when I think of a Kendrick Lamar listener, the first thing that comes to my mind is honestly an English major. Like, that's the first thing that comes to my mind because I know English majors that are like, my favorite rapper is Kendrick Lamar. I never think of thugs. I don't. And I don't think of thugs either when I think of Drake being their favorite artist. Like, I don't. Like, I guess that's probably white girls, white dudes, but I don't think of English majors or like some. But then when I think like, all right, Future's your favorite artist, like that's a different crowd, you know? And maybe I'm stereotyping here, but that's just been my experience with those people who cited them as their favorite artists.
Drake always seems like he's been on his own. I know he had Young Money and he was kind of wrote off Lil Wayne and then just into the sunlight that he's in now. But Kendrick Lamar, think about it this way, where, you got your Compton 90s gangster rap coming out all the way to Dr. Dre becoming an old head producer, this and that, all the way to, I think, that concert in LA that is, I think it's super culturally significant. Like, I remember hearing about Kendrick getting passed the torch basically of like, hey, like, you're the next guy up for gangster rap. It's you. It's nobody else. Like, you're going to continue this legacy. You're going to keep the shit we started 20 years ago going on. And I feel like that's way more culturally significant than anything Drake has ever done or will ever do. I mean, no shade. Like, don't want to stand on a side, but Drake probably comes out winning this at the end of the day. He's just, do we think he has ghostwriters?
Yes,
where did people ever land on that? Okay.
Yeah,
we know
think
for a
Lil
fact Yachty's cooking up these?
Did you see the Jumbotron shit poppin' thing?
No.
So there's a leaked track of Jumbotron shit poppin', and almost word for word, it's Lil Yachty, and we know who's an executive producer on Her Loss. It was Lil Yachty for Drake and 21 Savage's album. I can send it to you guys. It's literally like, when you get like an MP3 file texted to you and it's like the little waves at the bottom. That's what it is. Yeah. It's Jumbotron shit poppin'. Some random producer sent it to him and then he just took off on it. And then he must have given it to Drake, or Drake bought it from him. And he's like, I'm putting this on my album.
And I think the flip side of that, if you were a Drake fan, would be that Drake's contributed to other artists' albums as well. And helped write,
100%.
There's, a bunch of examples where, even with Kanye, right, where he's helped write or helped kind of figure out, how does this song work or what's the hook here?
I mean, playing Drake's side again, you could say that he helped launch his career a ton. Overly, Section 80 didn't do that well coming out the gate. I think it's looked back on now a lot better. People enjoy it more and appreciate it. But was that after the feature on Take Care?
I don't know. Buried Alive.
That's
sure.
a good Drake
or even song. Yeah, he has a whole
Say what? Yeah.
It's basically like, his whole song. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see if we get a response here. Maybe we'll have to regroup here when we just see where this lands. Ralph, if you're a huge Drake guy, what do you hope to see as a result of this?
More songs, because all right, so we had Charged Up. That was the first one that we got from him during the Meek Mill beef. And then we got Back to Back right after that, and that's still an all-timer for a lot of people. I didn't love that song as much as a lot of people did, but I recognize it's a great song. But it also led to just a great
Salvador
run.
Perez, who's the Kansas City guy on it?
That's the catcher for the Royals.
Yeah, is that okay? It is him.
No, it's a Blue Jay that was on it. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. But I mean, it didn't just lead to those two songs. It also led to What a Time to Be Alive. And if you're reading This Is Too Late, I think Scorpion, there's a bunch of songs off of Scorpion that came from the Pusha T beef. He didn't have Mob Ties, he didn't have Nonstop.
A lot of those songs sucked.
That album rules. Stand by that album forever. But yeah, I'm hoping we just get a charged up version of Drake. Another album soon that's better than the last couple. I like the most previous albums, but I think that like you said, Turner, maybe his best music's behind him. Maybe it's ahead of him if this is gonna motivate him. And the same thing goes for Kendrick. Everybody's been scared of Kendrick for the last 15 years. Nobody's ever come at him once.
Best and worst album. I mean, it's always subjective. I just feel personally, those albums are just so secured in my personal history that it's going to be hard to find something that takes over. I listened to, honestly, Nevermind as much as any album that year, but it's not going to hold the same place in my heart as What a Time to Be Alive.
Right. The best albums that ever came out in your life were when you were in high school. That's the same.
High school through college. Yep.
The best albums you've listened to always come back to Metro. I think that where hopefully we see this go is, we're talking about two heavyweight box fighters that I feel like hold a special place in all of our hearts, but some more than others. I would just hate to see somebody get buried. Kendrick Lamar.
That's not happening.
Kind of go away for a little bit. But, dude, right now, I haven't really heard anything from him.
I thought you meant literally buried. Really That's my bad. I thought you meant somebody getting killed. I was like,
no one's getting
these guys
killed.
Are too big. This isn't
no one's
getting
big anymore. This is definitely just a jockeying of egos right now.
Yep.
Just different people trying to just big dick each other. But, yeah, at the end of the day, I'm more thinking right now where we're at in this place in time. Just don't want to see Kendrick just not come back with a response, let Drake walk away with another one. Then it's what are we doing here?
All right. Well, this has been a good conversation on it. I hope everybody ate this up. Now we got to move into the NBA playing games because we only have so much time tonight. Yes.
Yeah.
Basketball
baby.
still on. This is great. So we're going to talk about the NBA play-in. When you guys are listening to this, the games will be Tuesday and Wednesday night. Now, the NBA play-in was introduced 2 years ago, correct, Turner? 2 years ago. This is the third year that we've had the play-in. Or is this the fourth year?
This would be the third. This would be the third year.
This is the third year.
Out of like post-COVID, post-bubble.
Yes, and it's a blast, honestly. So this is essentially win or go home for most of these teams here. So what happens is the 7 and the 8 seed will play each other. So in the Western Conference, that is the Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and crew against the New Orleans Pelicans. And this game is in New Orleans. So New Orleans is the 7, LA is the 8, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram. And then on the Eastern side of things, the Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers, who just got Joel Embiid back recently. Miami Heat have made the finals 2 of the last 3 years from the Eastern Conference. That's the 7 and 8 there. So the winner of those games will play, respectively, the Nuggets in the first round in the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference, they'll play the Knicks. All right. And then you have the 9 and 10 games. Whoever loses that game is done. See you in the lottery. See you next year. Have a good offseason. Okay. So the Warriors go to Sacramento to play the Kings. All right. That's on the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference, it's the Atlanta Hawks and Chicago Bulls. Yada, yada, yada. Nobody gives a fuck about either of those teams. All right. Now, the winner of the 9-10 games, so the Warriors, if let's say they beat the Kings, they will play the loser of the Lakers-Pelicans game, and whoever wins that game will play the 1 seed in the West, which would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Same thing goes for the East. They will play the 1 seed Boston Celtics, who have been the best team in the league. We have to start with the Lakers and Pelicans because that is not just the first game, but it's also the biggest game. They play tonight when people are listening to this at 6:40 p.m. Central Standard Time. The Lakers are 1-point favorites in New Orleans. The over-under is set at 223.5. These two teams just played on Sunday, and the Lakers handed their ass to them. They looked dominant. They looked really good. LeBron looks like he's in playoff mode. Turner, is there any chance that the Pelicans win this game?
It's at home, right?
It's in New Orleans.
Smoothie King?
In Smoothie King Center, baby.
Any chance? Sure. It's a 1 point. They're only 1 point dogs. Yeah. They surely have a chance. I think it'll be interesting to see how Zion and AD match up, how much they end up on each other. Ralph, you were watching the game the other night. How are the Lakers positioning AD defensively? Were they kind of letting him do the roaming shot block, rim protector, playing off ball, or how is that kind of set up? And is there a possibility the Pelicans can ever go small with Zion at the 5, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think, all right. With Valanciunas in the lineup, they usually have their 4 on him, which is LeBron, which is one of the smarter defenders in the world, and they like to have AD on Zion. Now, Berg, you've seen Zion at Duke. I'm not sure how much you've watched him in New Orleans. He's definitely gotten better. He's definitely been better the latter part of the season than he was in the beginning of the season when we were criticizing him about his weight and all of those issues. But the thing that defenders do against him is because they don't respect his jump shot and they don't want him to get to the rim, they give him like 6 feet of space while they're guarding him, which you never see in the NBA, especially for a guy that scores 25 points per game. Usually defenders like to have a hand in their face. But Zion just uses that space to create momentum, getting to the rim. And I think that he's comfortable with that normally. But when you do it against Anthony Davis, it leads to a different equation. So Anthony Davis, I think, is the best defender in the league other than Wembanyama and Gobert. He might be better than either of them on any given night. He's giving Zion that space, and Zion's running into him and trying to finish over the top of him and then realizing, well, fuck me, this isn't, Jakob Poeltl or Zach Collins. This is Anthony Davis, and he's getting his shit swatted. So he got his shit swatted a couple times by AD. So I'll be interested to see that. But he will be playing off the ball, roaming on Zion, giving him all the space in the world. And then they'll probably have, Reeves on McCollum and then D'Angelo on Alvarado or whoever it might be, Herb Jones.
Who draws the LeBron assignment then on the flip side? Is that a Herb Jones?
It'll be Herb, yes.
Okay.
Can't score on Herb.
He's a little small. He's long, but like LeBron's just such a big body now. I don't think of Herb Jones as necessarily like a big body defender. He's still pretty wiry.
Well, that's why this game is fun. It's you have these two hyperbolic freaks in LeBron and Zion. LeBron doing in year 21, still remarkably physical. And then Zion, who's 23, 24 years old, and he's probably the biggest walking anomaly in the league, sans Wembanyama. So that'll be fascinating. But a couple of picks that I like in this game. LeBron in these playing games, he shows up on the biggest stages. People have the 2011 Mavericks series still in their heads because they're fucking idiots, even though they don't realize that was 13 years ago. LeBron shows up for these games. So I love for him to go for over 25
just you
points.
Being such a LeBron fan that you just seek out and give attention to the one person that's hating on him. Nobody says LeBron can't show up in big moments anymore. That's not a narrative.
Okay, hopefully it's not, because if it is, they're idiots. All right, but there's definitely some people out there the Jordan stands that'll find any way to knock him. So I love him to go for over 25 points, and then I also like Zion to go under whatever his prop is. So let me double check what his points are, and I think if you parlay the two of those, you'll get a good cash out. Because on the other hand, Zion is a guy who's not showed up in big moments. He hasn't played at a level this high since Duke. Didn't make it in the playoffs 2 years ago when the Pelicans played against Phoenix, and then last year they lost in the play-in.
Damn, seems like it's already kind of written. I'm shocked looking at these standings for the first time this year.
So
let's move on to the next game. Kings Warriors.
Yep.
Ralph, I got to be honest, I didn't realize the Kings were faltering that much down the stretch. And this is where the playing games are great when you get to them. It's let's go. These games are going to be fun. There's a lot on the line. But sometimes leading up to it, at the end of the season, is supposed to keep it more entertaining, is supposed to keep people engaged, teams still fighting for that play-in spot. I don't know if it's necessarily done that. Last year we saw the Mavs tank out of the play-in because being the 10 seed is, being the 7 through 10 seed, you probably don't have that great of an opportunity to win the championship realistically. I think the West is a little different. You have some of these older teams that understand, hey, we just got to get to the playoffs these days and we'll see where it is. And there's a lot of competitiveness from 1 through 8, 1 through 9 in the West. But then I look in the East and I see the 36 and 46 Hawks making it, and that just gives me the worst taste in my mouth. 10 games under 500 and you're going to the playoffs, hang the banner. I hate that.
Dude, they hung the banner 3 weeks ago. They gave up on the season. But to counter that point, the Heat were in the play-in last year and they make it to the finals, right? All it takes is one Giannis injury, overcoming the Celtics.
The Lakers were in the play-in too last year, right?
Lakers were in the play-in. They beat the Grizzlies in the first round, and then they lose to the Nuggets in the conference finals.
Were they the 7 and 8 seeds? Do you remember? Or were they 8 and 9? They were.
So the Lakers were the 7 seed last year, and then the Heat were actually the 8 seed. They lost the first game, then they won the second game against Toronto. So
here's the flip side argument too: is that both those teams ended up in their seeded position, 7 and 8, and both of them made runs. And it just kind of led to maybe more of a fluky opportunity where these teams are the 7 and 8 seeds and should be in the playoffs. And then you have 9 and 10 had the opportunity to knock them off and prevent those runs.
Well, let me flip side your flip side. So the Warriors are the 10 seed. Okay. They're the 10 seed and they're going into Sacramento. They're the favorites in Sacramento. Sacramento has been pretty brutal since they lost Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter, which I know it sucks, Riesberg. We don't get to watch Malik Monk play playoff basketball. So they're really just relying on Fox, Sabonis, and Murray. And the Warriors are a team with championship pedigree, and I expect them to go in and beat Sacramento's ass. But then they'll have to beat New Orleans after that. And I think that if they do, Warriors, Oklahoma City in the first round, that's I love OKC. They're so fun to watch, but they are definitely between Denver, Minnesota, and OKC. The team that you want to play out of those three is OKC, and they got the 1 seed. So they'll likely be playing the Lakers, Pelicans, or Warriors. And I would like any of those 3 teams over Oklahoma City in a series, especially if they're the underdogs going into it. I'm putting money on that every day of the week. So if you go to the Warriors, who have been how many playoff games have they played in the last 10 years? Right, 200. Somewhere in that range, and they go against an Oklahoma City team where everybody has 0 logged playoff minutes except for Shea in that one series where he was the 8 seed with the Clippers. I'm taking the Warriors there.
So you're saying that they're kind of a sketchy 1 seed. They're bound to lose. A little bit of a straw man going on right now.
I don't know about bound to lose.
The Thunder are healthy though, right? They don't have anybody that's down.
Nobody hurt. Chet played all 82 games this year, which is insane. You look at that guy and you're insane. How? Berg, have you seen Chet since Gonzaga? Did you watch him at Gonzaga at all?
Yeah, it goes back to whenever I talk about NBA prospects being very confused about them. He just looked very scrawny and wasn't able to use his body. He came off the bench. Yeah, at Zaga when he got in. And it was he's going to be a lottery pick. I was just very confused because this guy, what I'm seeing now can't do much. But then it's funny you bring up the 82 games. I don't follow the NBA, but I see that all the time just getting pushed in my face of like, hey, the man's healthy. The man's playing 82 games. Like, this is huge for him. So, dude, I'm happy for him. It looks like he put on weight, and like, I'm just, again, being proved wrong why I'd be a terrible NBA GM.
Yeah, right. So, like, I mean, 2 years makes a world of difference because when he was at Gonzaga, he looked like Slender Man, and he still does to a certain degree, but he had a shaved face. He looked like he was 18. He was coming in behind Drew Timme, who looked like the oldest basketball player of all time when he was in college.
True.
And so Chet comes in, and you're like, this is the youngest player I've ever seen. Now Chet's got a full beard. He does that really shitty AT&T commercial. He's trying to become
I love that commercial.
Dude, really? You're the only guy in the world.
Yeah, dude. Why are people hating? That's a great song. And what is it? Is it him and Ja?
SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Oh, SGA is a good-looking man.
You're really showing your I don't watch the NBA card right now.
I don't at all. But I'm in here. I know the name SGA. I hear he's a dog. I hear he's a fighter. He's also your girlfriend's favorite basketball player because he's stealing the show for me out there. But Chet,
it's a tough draw for Chet when you got to stand next to that dude in a commercial where you're trying to look swaggy and hot and personable and. I don't know.
Yeah, he held his own like as much as he could have.
I said somebody the other day looks like Chet's like the type of dude to steal your body parts while you're sleeping and sell them in the Matrix, like cause with that outfit.
All the black and the leather. Well, and it's just a tough look because like he's a footer. Like that's what these guys are like. He's 7 feet tall, legitimately.
Once you hit 7
SGA's 6'5", and really handsome, pulling off all of these kinds of fits. Like he looks the part. He looks like a superstar. And you just put Chet next to him. It's like that guy's a fucking freak. Like, and he can't sing for shit.
There's very few attractive 7-footers. Once you get that tall, just
Gobert, Wemby. The Frenchman?
The foreign guys are all right. You got the Gasol brothers.
Aren't they known?
Marc Gasol is not good looking. Maybe Serge Ibaka.
Good now that he's slimmed down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Love, close, 6'11". 6'11" is kind of the peak for like hot dudes because that's K-Love.
Who's the guy that wears the big bun?
Steven Adams.
He's 7 feet, right?
That's pretty tight, dude.
Yeah,
that's a good point. He's got to be the most attractive 7-footer that I've seen.
New Zealand.
Yep, Khal Drogo. He loves that kind of shit. All right, over in the East, you have the Heat and the Sixers.
Here we go.
So
let's get into this one.
This is a bloodbath right here. So Berg, noted Philadelphia 76ers fan for some reason, just random. Can't be anymore now. They live in Denver. But Embiid is back, and Maxey is having a career season, taking a bunch of shots, but, putting them up. And then you have Miami, who's the sleeping giant in the East. They do the same thing every single year where they don't give a flying fuck about the regular season. Then the playoffs come around, and they're like, all right, it's Jimmy Butler time. Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. They got Terry Rozier at the deadline. I'm never going to underestimate the Heat. I think they win this game, but they are the underdogs going into Philly. So Philly is favored by 4.5 points. The Heat money line is plus 164. Sprinkle something on that. Yeah, man.
On the flip side of what you said about the Heat, every year they do this. They're these sleeping giants. Another straw man coming in, 76ers. Every year it seems like they pull the people back in. They pull the fans in. They're like, guys, this year we'll do it. Every year the same result happens for like the past 6 years that I can remember of just tuning into the playoffs. Oh, 76ers lost way too soon. That sucks. What the hell's going on here? I don't get it. Why is this happening? Is Embiid soft?
Embiid doesn't get to the line like he does in the playoffs, and I think that's a big factor.
He doesn't get to the line?
Not like
in
he
the
does
playoffs?
in the regular season.
What a fuck.
Can I also raise you? I saw the funniest video on Twitter today.
Head coach.
They don't have Doc anymore. Now it's Nick Nurse,
but like,
who's a good coach. But yeah, right, for sure. But I saw how like there's this idea, not even idea. There's this recognition that Jokic, LeBron, Chris Paul, all these guys are like geniuses on the court. Like they're so heady and smart.
Yes, this is great.
And then there's a video of Tobias Harris They're like, people aren't talking enough about how fucking stupid he is. Like, his spatial awareness is like less than zero. There's a moment where Kyle Lowry is in the left corner, and the rule is you never want to have two people in the same corner. You want to spread them out as much as possible. And Tobias Harris goes from the left wing and slides down right next to Kyle Lowry in the left corner, catches a pass, and then hands it off to him while he's in the air. And it's like, Tobias Harris, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
Right.
That's a guy making $34 million, never shows up in the playoffs.
You look at Embiid's Batmans, too, previously. It's Ben Simmons and James Harden, not necessarily two guys known as the toughest mentally basketball players that thrive in the playoffs. But I would say, too, to your point, Ralph, about those people being basketball geniuses, I wouldn't say that Embiid's obviously on some level of, genius at basketball. He would average like 35, 36 points a game. Yeah. But I do feel like over a 7-game series, when he's just been primarily a scorer, teams can kind of key in and lock in on what their defensive strategy is going to be. But we saw earlier this year before Embiid went down that Nick Nurse was he was much more involved in like generating offense at the top of the key.
He was Jokicing.
Yeah. And so we'll see if that plays a factor into the playoffs, and if that leap, maybe another leap he's taken, propels the Sixers forward. I think this is the most fascinating and the most important play-in game, because I do think, and kind of to your point maybe about the Thunder versus the Nuggets, I think the Knicks at the 2 seed is I think the Sixers or Heat might be favored in that series, like straight up. But I think the Celtics, the 64-18 this year, they're a juggernaut. I find it hard to believe either the 76ers or Heat team. They might be able to make it a series and pick up a game or two here or there, but that Celtics team is too deep, too talented, and has been building chemistry like we saw with the Nuggets, where when it comes into those big moments when there's 5 minutes less in the game, like these guys are so familiar with each other and really know how to play together and have been through these moments that I trust the Celtics to definitely get out of the first round. Meanwhile, I think you'll have to see what the line comes out, but both Heat or Sixers over the Knicks is a play in that line, 7-2 line.
I think
so with the Knicks
go ahead.
With the Knicks at number 2, does that mean is Julius Randle having a great season?
He's out for the season.
He's out for the season, and they're number 2. What the hell's going on? Who's their guy?
You're gonna love this. What they did is they said we're gonna get the 3 guards from those great Villanova teams. Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart, and we're just gonna rely on these guys to carry us.
We're gonna strap up. Dante DiVincenzo played 53 minutes on Sunday. That's right, 53. 48-minute games. He played 53 minutes because they went to overtime, but he played every single minute of the game. Tom Thibodeau was like, you know what? We're a defensive team. If Randall gets hurt, Randall gets hurt. So they don't just have those 3 guys. They also have OG Anunoby, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Mitchell Robinson. And this team is predicated on getting stops, Berg. They're a team that wants to win games 94-90. Like, they're going to clamp shit. Okay, so I like their chances in the East in general. But to Turner's point, you'd much rather play them than Boston. I think unless you're Miami. Because if you're Miami, you just have that mental edge over Boston where you've beaten them the last couple of years. They just have the toughness. I think Tatum is soft. I really do. I think there's something about him that's soft. I love Derek White, but they went to 7 games with them last year. Miami overcame them. I think Kristaps is soft to a certain degree. I think Jaylen Brown is soft to a certain degree. I never look at the Heat and think soft. I also think Spoelstra is just a way better coach than Joe Mazzulla. Yeah. And I know we talk about coaching all the time in college, but it does matter in the NBA, especially when you have that big of an advantage. Boston definitely has the skill set advantage because they have the best starting 5 in the league other than Denver. But Miami's just like, they're just fucking dogs.
Those are good points. What was it, 2 years ago when Boston won in 7, and then the Heat won last year in 7? So from a fan perspective, it'd be fun to get like that matchup again and kind of continue to see that rivalry build in the East.
And Knicks Philly would be really fun too.
I mean, Sixers, Celtics is all 4 of those. Heat, Knicks have a lot of history going back to like the 90s, early 2000s. So however that one falls out, I think is going to be a lot of fun basketball. I'll be so disappointed if either the Bulls or Hawks sneak their way in.
Neither of them are getting in. There's no way. Embiid, Kristaps rivalry too. Low key, same draft class. That could be fun. Nobody's starting that narrative yet. Maybe that could be our narrative that we cook up. I don't care about the Hawks Bulls game at all. I don't care about either of these teams. Neither of them fascinate me. Neither of them are very fun to watch. If you do want to watch anybody in that game, just watch Kobe White and Alex Caruso for the Bulls. Kobe White has had an explosive season. He's been a lot better. DeRozan's always fun to watch, but Zach LaVine is a cancer to basketball, and I can't stand him.
He's not even gonna. He doesn't. Has he been suiting up for the Bulls again? He's still been out for the whole year, damn near.
I think he's been back like the last 2 weeks. I couldn't tell you though. I haven't watched a Bulls game since December, so I've been trying to avoid them as much as possible. But yes, the big slate of games is Tuesday night. So Lakers Pelicans at 6:40 tonight. When people are listening to this, Kings Warriors at 9:10, and then Wednesday night at 6 o'clock we'll have Heat Sixers. So that should be fun. But yeah, man, I'm really excited. I'm more excited to dive into the actual playoffs. But the play-in is just kind of a nice little appetizer that leads into it, get people ready to go. And again, man, it's do or die for a few of these teams. So it seems like the Hawks are ready to die, though. They're like, let's just get the fuck out of this season. Let's trade Schreier to DeJounte and just get the hell out of here.
One other thing that's fascinating, and I don't know how much it used to be like this, to be frank, but with these playing games, adding basically an extra 4 to 5 days, as a Nuggets fan, I was seeing like Jokic is going back to Serbia for a week, and PJ said he's going to get on the beach. Like all these other teams that aren't in the playoffs are just resting up, getting ready, and I think that does provide better basketball when these guys can take that week off and get mentally prepared and let their bodies recover for a little bit. But it's also a big reason why, the Mavericks moving up and out of the 7-8 line is huge, because now you're just mentally, you're able to get away versus preparing for do or die basketball.
Yeah, they just prepare for the Clippers for another week, and I can't wait for that series. Oh my God. Also, before we do it, we're going to do the playoff previews right now. You need to take it right now. Take the Pacers to beat the Bucks in the first round. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Just take the Pacers over the Bucks. They're way faster. They're way more athletic. Damian Lillard cannot guard Tyrese Halliburton, and Giannis is hurt. And I think they're plus 130 right now to win that series. So before the line moves too much, I've already taken it. Please take that. All right, we'll do Masters really quick, and then we'll get out of here. Sort of just like a foundational question. Is Scottie Scheffler bad for golf? Is he too good at golf?
Well, if you don't like Scottie Scheffler as a personality, then you could say maybe he's bad for golf. But I think golf's always thrived when you have a top dog, a lead dog, and everybody else chasing after it. Dominance and greatness in itself is interesting and fascinating. I think we see that in every sport. And so when you have a bunch of guys individually winning a tournament here or there, or maybe some guys that are kind of no names popping up and winning the majors, like we saw a little bit of this, and from, I'd say, 2017 to 2019, where there's a lot of first-time major winners and then guys that didn't win majors again. And when that happens, sometimes you get a star-making turn, and those guys turn out to be really great golfers. Other times, those Masters kind of come and go, and they're just a little less eventful or memorable. So typically, when it comes to major tournaments, I like to see the best golfers perform well and the best golfers win versus kind of an underdog story. Like Peter Malnati, let's say, for example, he won a tournament 3 weeks ago. First one on tour, got into the Masters because of that. It was sweet to see him win. He's a good dude. He's been grinding on the tour. He goes to the Masters, and he's one of the last place finishers. He's just not meant for that kind of a tournament or for that moment. But I still like to see him and underdogs win on tour. But the majors are just really those events that should be held to the highest standard and won by the highest performing players. We'll see where Scottie can go from here. He's made a lot of different putting changes recently. He got a new putting coach in the offseason. He was talking about it in his post-round interviews, basically saying, I've had the same coach since I was 8 years old. And after last year, after East Lake, we hopped on a plane to go home. And I said, hey, I was talking to my agent. I was like, I think I need to get a putting coach. And I can't believe I'm mixing up his name right now. He's a little dude. He picked him up right after he won the Masters, gave him a big bear hug. But this guy...
little dude, Kenny.
Yeah, he's a coach. He's a coach for Matt Fitzpatrick, Keegan Bradley. And one of the anecdotes said those two guys putt completely differently. And so when I was looking for a coach, I wasn't looking for somebody to drill in, one certain style. This is like how you have to do it. This is how I coach the technique. But I was looking for somebody that could adapt and help me basically build on what I already use and how I perform on the putting green and improve upon that. And if Scottie can continue to putt at basically league average or tour average, it's going to be really hard to beat him on these major championship courses that are really going to test you as a ball striker. So this week, he typically is in the field from like about 100 to 200 yards, the best ball striker, the best, shooting the rock there with his irons. He was actually pretty much middle of the pack this week of the Masters, middle of the pack at putting, but he drove the ball better than anybody this weekend, and he was best around the greens with the short game this weekend in the whole tournament. And that just shows you there's multiple ways for him to win. And he's just that much better right now that over a 4-round event, a tough 4-round event, it's going to be hard for people to keep pace.
I think the best attribute that you can attribute to him is he makes a really, really hard and frustrating and mentally draining game look really easy and like calm. He never changes his face. He never gets too high. He never gets too low. And I know that's a stereotype, but that's, I watch Bryson, I watch Homa, and we talked about it a little bit last week, but golf is such an intimate sport from a broadcasting standpoint. Like I can tell by the way that Jim Nantz is talking about somebody, what he thinks about somebody, because like their face is all over the screen. And you can just tell by the way they walk, their posture, their body language, like whether or not they're having a bad day. Like you don't have to see their scorecard to understand like if Bryson is having bad, or John Rahm this week who won last year.
Oh,
and
John
it's just
Rahm's
like
fiery. Love him.
And you just watch him and you're like, oh man, this guy's struggling. And Tiger to a certain degree was like kind of the opposite of that, where like you could, he was up and down a little bit, but like when he was up, he was up. With Scottie, I can never tell. I would have to look at his scorecard to tell how he's doing because he's always just so even keeled. And he just never hits a bad shot. Like it's really remarkable. Like how many times did he end up like in that, what do they call it? Like that red, like sawdust material on the side, like by the
pine
trees.
straw?
Yeah. Like I never saw him over there. And then meanwhile, Morikawa has to hit backwards on the same hole as him while Scottie's just in the fucking fairway, just chilling.
Yeah. The course was playing really hard this week. And a lot of times when you think of the Masters, like there's different guys that have these miracle shots. Bubba Watson has had a few. Tiger's had some incredible shots where it's like, oh my God, like he was just in all the trouble in the world. The tournament could have been falling out of his hands, and now he made birdie there. The course was playing incredibly hard, and Scottie didn't really have a lot of those. It was a pretty impressive to watch. But to your point, I'm a big Scottie fan, so I was happy to see him, run away and have a stress-free win. But outside of, Ludwig Oberg, who's a young up-and-comer out of Texas Tech, a Swede, who was 4 shots back, Scottie beat everybody else in the tournament by 7 shots. And I agree that dominance is fun to a certain, point, and Tiger made it fun because of the way he did it and his flair. But it is also, having some competition down the stretch where it feels like anybody can win, and you're walking down 17, 18 and having to execute those remaining shots to pull out a victory is always going to be a little bit more entertaining than a runaway victory.
I have 2 questions on top of that. First one for Berg, second one for you. I'll ask them both at the same time. Well, actually, I'll do the first one for Turner. Think of somebody that you think that could be the best, like who could be his Phil? If he's Tiger, who could be his Phil? And then Berg, does he need a name change to be sexier? Because Tiger Woods, for like as much as like we love Tiger in the way that he played, the name Tiger Woods is just like so easy to brand. Could Scottie be like Sniper Scheffler or something like that? Like, does he need to change it up just a little bit? I know that rhymes with Tiger, but it's the first one that comes to mind. Like,
yeah, Berg, come on, go ahead, Berg. Give us how do we make Scottie more sexy? If you were his marketing manager, how would you market this guy? How would you get him to the masses?
Because he can't just be like on a Stouffer's commercial. Like that's just too basic. Like we need Scottie.
He's not a big Stouffer guy.
Yeah, I think there need to be a lot more just kind of surface videos found of just Scottie out in the public to just change the general perception of this isn't a boy man. This is a man out there doing some fun things. So that way when you see him on the course, you can think about him just at some club that he should never be at, like Magic City Scottie or something like that. Where there's video surfaced of him just ripping tequila shots and maybe getting a little sloppy one day. But then the next morning, the PR people got a video of him just hitting it, getting after practice. People love a work hard, play hard kind of guy. I think that'd be great PR. But it also, from what I know about Scottie, sounds like not what he is at all. He kind of seems like those X's and O's. Make sure he carefully dots his T's or crosses his T's, dots his I's. So unless he becomes Magic City Scottie, it's a tough uphill battle.
You want him to become Allen
Magic
Iverson.
City Scottie, that'd be a real 180.
Practice.
Real 180 for what he's preaching out here. There was pictures, that came out of him last night. He was at Inwood Tavern, which is like a dive bar in Dallas, and he was wearing the green jacket, taking pictures with some people.
But he probably had like 3 beers and then drove home. Like there's no way he was ripping whiskey shots.
Yeah, but that's okay. He doesn't have to be an alcoholic sex addict. Like we don't like
doesn't he?
necessary.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I think it's cool he pulled up to a dive bar, though. Was there more to the story on that? He just pulls up wearing the green jacket. What a flex, by the way. Just a little small bar nobody's heard of and nobody expected him to go to.
Also, like in his post-game press conference or interview with Jim Nantz in the cabin, he was like, I can't wait to just get home to Meredith. Did he go to the bar first before he went home to Meredith?
I think he did, but I said there's nothing more relatable than like getting home to go back out. Like you're going home, you check in with baby girl. Meredith's like, Scottie, you just won the Masters. Like, go down the road, go have some beer. I'll be fine right here. Like, I'm glad you're home. We're so proud of you. Just get back out there for a second. Like you got so much pent up energy right now. You're just walking around. Don't need that. Don't need that right now. He's actually slated. He was at least slated to play the tournament this week too. And I've been saying this since the tournament started. Like Meredith wasn't due for another like 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep.
And so like, sure,
I listen to
things happen.
Could happen. Yeah.
Things happen. I sent this text. I said he's just he's cashing checks that he doesn't have. Like he's writing checks that he doesn't have to cash currently. Yep. I'm absolutely going home if Meredith has, the birth of our child. I think that's true, but I think the chances and odds are very minuscule. So he's just getting a massive PR bump on that without having to put in much work. But then a few people said, hey, I was born 2 weeks early. Hey, I was too. I was like, okay, maybe I don't know that much about the birthing cycle, but
do you think that might have been like a competitive edge thing? Like where he said that and he was like, I want to, because, I think all of these golfers are scared of him. Like I listened to some Homa interview and he was like, I can play the best I can, but like my best shot at winning this tournament is if Meredith, goes into birth because Scottie's going to win it. And like, do you think that like that's...
It goes back quickly to this whole year on tour. He hasn't had one round above par.
What?
So like, yeah. And last year it was basically the same thing for the last like 2 months. It's like you just know he's gonna have 4 good days, and
can you put that in NBA or NFL terms for me? Like, what does that mean?
It's like when LeBron went in, what was it, like 2012 or 2013 on the Heat, and he shot over 60% for like 30 straight games. Okay. It's like that, where you're just not going to get a bad day out of him, which makes it very, very difficult. Because a lot of these guys, like Rory is a great example. It's really hard for him to piece 4 straight rounds together these days. He always seems to have one round that's like 2 over par, and that just completely screws up his whole tourney.
Well, Morikawa on Sunday, that was the only day that he shot over par. And he said it in his presser too afterwards. They were like, what kind of went wrong today? He said, I got greedy. And he didn't mention Scottie explicitly, but he was playing that round with Scottie. They were partners for that day. And he's probably seen how good Scottie's doing. So he's like, I'm going to, go for the big shot when you have to be disciplined at Augusta. Like this is a course that will break you down if you try to get greedy on it. Like you can hit a perfect shot like Homa did. I can't remember what hole it was, but he hits the green and it bounces so hard off the green that he loses his ball. And then the 3-minute clock starts where he has to start looking for his fucking ball in the bush. And it's like, that's just like one little thing that can disrupt your rhythm. That never happens to Scottie. He's unbelievable. Were there any other golfers this weekend, Turner, that impressed you? And moving forward, you're like, okay, this could be a momentous push for them going forward?
I mean, here's the guys that you mentioned as a foil.
Auburn for sure. Oh yeah, sure. Give me the foils.
Major start. He was the #1 amateur in the world at one point. He seems like he's a machine. He hits the ball like 330.
Damn.
So there's definitely a possibility that he could kind of be a foil.
Yeah, give me the fills, not the foils. Fills.
I mean, none of them are gonna be Phil. Right? Phil's got damn near 10 majors. He's got 4. He's won 4 Masters, I think, maybe 3 or 4. So I don't know about like if Scottie had Phil's career, he'd be really happy.
Yeah, right.
Honestly. I'll give you the Phil. Let's talk about Zalatoris, the most fun, energetic, youthful golfer in the game.
He's live boy now.
Yeah, but I don't mind that.
He's not live boy. He's still a PGA guy.
Oh, is he? Oh, I thought he was live. My bad.
I support the live.
He just is too friendly to go to live. He's just. You said young and energetic. He just does have that baby face, Berg. He's one of the best ball strikers in the world too. He's consistently top 10ing majors. He could be a guy that pulls out a major win this year or the next 2. He switched his putting style, his putting grip in the last year. That's helped him improve on the golf course as well. So he's a guy. I mean, Morikawa's got 2 already majors. He's such a good iron player. Maybe he gets 1 more, maybe 2 more. But it's not, it's not the Cantlays of the world. It's not the Spieths really of the world anymore. Rory hasn't won a major in 10 years. we'll see what happens. John Rahm is a guy that's put together like 3-month stints of a really good golf. But obviously he's on live right now, and it just seems to be messing with his head a little bit. Doesn't seem to be very happy on live. This weekend wasn't his best weekend, but Brooks Koepka has still been the best major golfer of this generation, 5 majors. So, I mean, there's still a lot of good players, great players out there. It just kind of comes back to the inevitability of, hey, you got to play 4 good rounds if you're going to get Scottie.
I love him.
It kind of sounds like next 10 years, Zalatoris. He's getting the green jacket.
You kind of look like Zalatoris.
Yeah,
I think
does.
No, it's not me. It's a Nesbitt comparison. So maybe that's why I hold him fondly. He looks like a very nice, loving guy that is in our lives. I just want to see him win.
I've been finding Nesbitts all over the internet, and I send them to you every time they pop up on my timeline. He's not a Nesbitt dog. He's a Riesberg for sure.
No, he's definitely a Nesbitt. But what do we think? What are people talking about? I haven't heard much as I would expect to. With Tiger Woods made the cut, but finishes plus 16. I'm not sure what the expectations were, but what's the walk away from that? Because it seems really like it seems bad.
2 walkaways. One, when he made the cut, that was his 24th straight cut consecutively at the Masters, which broke a record that he tied previously.
Damn, that's kind of sick.
With Jack Nicklaus and Fred Couples, I believe.
Yep.
So in my head, if you were expecting Tiger to still compete for majors, it maybe wasn't necessarily encouraging. But I think if you still have that expectation, you might also be a little bit delusional. This is a guy that has a broken body, is on well over the wrong side of 40. But Tiger just has that aura about him where everybody still wants to believe in his major capabilities and being able to go out there and win majors. But to me, everything about him making the cut this weekend is why Tiger is Tiger. His body's falling apart. The conditions were really hard. It's hard for him to walk 18 like that. And on Friday, actually, he ended up playing like 23 holes because there was a delay on Thursday. So like after Friday, it felt like his body was completely fried. But he held tough. And, what his goal for the weekend was, he probably wouldn't have said this out loud. He probably says, my goal is to compete. But I think deep down his goal for the weekend was, let's break that cut record. He did that. He played a long day on Friday. We saw Saturday go absolutely miserable for him. I think he was 10 over. And then Sunday, it's just about getting out there and finishing the course. But he was 5 over on Sunday. And, Tony Finau, who's a golfer in his prime, was 8 over on Sunday. And a bunch of other golfers right around like 6 over too. So not encouraging if you're looking for more, top 10s or top 5s out of Tiger. But I have a lot of respect for what he did this weekend. I like the Sunday Red, his new golf brand. When the logo first dropped, I was kind of mediocre, lukewarm on it.
I said the same thing this weekend.
The gear this weekend looked really good. The shop hasn't opened yet, but definitely
May 1st
to buy something. I'm going to be interested to see what the prices are on that. Is it going to be like premium golf, or is it going to be kind of that Nike price tag range? We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if it goes like the Brady route, where it is like luxury, branding and stuff like that. But I was the same way. I saw the logo and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like this stupid outline of a tiger. And then I saw it on him and I'm like, ooh, that looks so good on him. Maybe it'll look as good on me. Then I realized I don't have even 45-year-old Tiger's body. So probably won't look quite as good on me.
Still. His forms are huge.
He looked the biggest I'd ever seen him. It was actually extremely intimidating. Those biceps looked for real.
He's hot shoulders. He's still got
He's a great man.
Still got a 6-pack. Is that what you're gonna say?
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Damn.
Oh my god, I love him.
Just ripping the
miss him every day.
I hope after this long week on the golf course, I hope he was able to go back home and have some sex again for the first time in a few weeks.
Can you imagine that nut, dude? I don't know if I'll do it off the pod. All right.
That's
Thank you guys for listening. We love you guys.
Real quick, I can't get this. I've been thinking about this the whole time. We got a trend here going on in 2024 that I'm interested to see if it'll keep up, what'll happen with it. The trend of dominance in just big sports moments. Scottie Scheffler, dominance, the favorite. We have the year favorites. We'll call the Chiefs. They probably weren't Vegas odd favorites, but they
doesn't matter.
Were goddamn up there. Should have been. They back-to-backed it. UConn back-to-backed it. Scheffler not back-to-back, but favorite winning. So start putting in your favorite bets in. Yeah, South Carolina
Michigan
women
was there all year undefeated and kind of had high expectations going in. Denver last year, 1 seed going into the NBA Finals.
2 seed this year, but the favorite to win the title this year.
Yeah,
Well, I think Boston's actually the favorite. They're second favorite.
We're due for some madness.
We are due for some madness. And with that being said, Orlando Magic to win the NBA title, probably like 24-1. Go ahead and take them. A little bit of madness. We didn't get it in March. We might get it in April, May, June.
Cavs are winning.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Baby. They play each other in the first round. You want to put a bet on that? I'll take the Magic if you take the Cavs.
Colin Sexton plays for the Jazzberg, but we still like the Cavs.
I'm out.
And they're out of the playoffs. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We love you. Our NBA expert, Skyler Riesberg, talking about Colin Sexton on the Cavs 2 years ago. Jack Turner talking about the Masters. What could be better than this, man? And me talking about Rick Ross's response to Drake. We love you. We'll see you on the other side. Peace out.
I'm loving the pop off.